Yeah. I'm saying this is just like the end of
Did you hear from his paper?
All right, good evening. It's the open public meeting of the Quincy Planning Board, and as such, I would ask for the following ground rules. All questions will be directed to the chair. Any person wishing to speak, please raise their hand for recognition by the chair. When recognized, please stand. Clearly state your name and address. Specify the specific interest in the proceedings, special credentials, if any, pertaining to the presentation. Please speak slowly and within the context of the hearing matter. This room is awful for people hearing, so I would ask for big indulgence. If somebody can't hear down the back of the room, please let us know, okay? And vice versa. The Planning Board reserves the right to exclude any unnecessary, irrelevant, repetitive, or harassing presentations. Cross-examination between parties in interest or any other person will be permitted only after due recognition by the chair. Pursuant to the state's open meeting law, any member of the public may make an audio or video recording of the open session of a public meeting. Any member of the public who wishes to record this meeting must first notify the chair and must comply with reasonable requirements regarding audio and video equipment established by the chair so as not to interfere with the meeting. All documents, papers, and plans introduced at the hearing will clearly be identified by name or some other designation and the person so introducing them, so that as shall be identified by name and address. And last but not least, if excerpts from case law are cited, the complete text of the case law shall be furnished to the planning department within 14 days. I would advise the general public that the meeting is being audio, video. That's the business. I can call the attendance.
Member Camiso present.
Member Glenn present?
Member Callahan present.
Member Barry present.
Member Mead present. Thank you. I'm just going to take one item. The first item, which is the continued public hearing for 28 to 34 Chapman Street, site plan special permit, planning board case 2015-47. It's been continued from the March 9th, 2016. The applicant has requested an extension. We have a letter from the applicant's representative, which I will read. It's addressed to myself. On behalf of my client, Chapman Corner LLC, I respectfully request a continuance of the public hearing for this case until the next available public hearing date. The applicant recently met with the planning department staff to review progress on the redesign of the parking level of the building. The project team is presently working on revisions to the building and the parking plans based on the feedback from the department. Thank you for consideration. Very truly yours, Christopher Harrington. So that item will be on our June 8th, which is our next meeting, June 8th. Do I need a vote to allow?
I'll make a motion to continue.
Okay, there's been a motion. Is the second? Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Oh, yeah. The next item I'd like to take up is I think everybody got a copy of our last meeting's minutes. I would ask for a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'd like to go one of the business items, which is the, excuse me, Second. I will. Under new business, which is a review and adopt the proposed City of Quincy housing production plan, which, Rob, where are you? Okay.
Chairman, members, my name is Robert Mull. I'm the Housing Programs Manager for the City of Quincy in the Planning Department. Tonight, myself and Ralph Wimmer from Metropolitan Area Planning Council are before you for the adoption by the Board of the City of Quincy Housing Production Plan. The plan is a 5-year proactive strategy to produce affordable housing to meet the city's needs in a manner that's consistent with the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40B statute and regulations. What the plan does is provide guidance and direction for the city's creation of affordable housing. The plan must first be approved by the planning board following the city council before it is submitted by the mayor to the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development. So just a brief history, the last plan was adopted by this board in 2010. It expired at the beginning of 2015, so we need to renew it and update it. So to do so, we enlisted MAPC with their expertise in planning and affordable housing. And we actually used a state grant and a matching grant from the City of Quincy Affordable Housing Trust Committee to contract with MAPC. We had a process over the summer, past summer into the winter, including a couple of community meetings, an online survey for residents to take and complete, and the plan was also presented, the needs assessment was presented to this board back in December of 2015. So what I'll do is I will turn it over to Ralph from MAPC. He will present the highlights of the plan, key findings on the city's needs, goals, strategies, and recommendations for implementation.
Thank you. So my name is Ralph Wilmer. I'm a principal planner with MAPC. I was before this board in December with an informational meeting and update on the plan. So what I'd like to do is to summarize some of the key findings and then get into the goals and the strategies, and certainly answer any questions that you may have. So we've been at this planning process for a while. We had a couple of public forums, informational public forums. One was held last summer and another in the fall. And we prepared the report, which is before you now. And just to focus on a couple of some of the key findings in the needs assessment, we found that there's going to be significant household growth projected for the city of Quincy. Up to 8,100 more households are projected by 2030. In Quincy, that's pretty much spread through most of the age groups, young, middle age, and particularly senior citizens. There's specifically a demand for up to 4,000 more housing units by 2020. And that's for affordable market rate units, single family, multifamily types of units. About 2/3 of your current housing stock is multifamily. Slightly more than half of your housing supply is rental versus home ownership. The median housing sales price has increased by almost 30% for single-family homes and 14% for condominiums since 2009, which is when prices were at their lowest following the recession. The median rent in Quincy is a little lower than some of the nearby communities. But in terms of the need, First of all, we found that 10.5% of all people in Quincy live below the poverty line. Almost 43% of Quincy households are considered to be cost burdened, and 20% are considered to be severely cost burdened. When we talk about cost burden, we talk about households that are spending more than 30% of their income on housing. If they do that, they're cost burdened. If they spend more than 50%, they are considered to be severely cost burdened. And this is, we found this to be true not just with renters, but also with homeowners. And about 60% of the city's population is theoretically income eligible for affordable housing under the various programs that are available through federal and state government. So when we put together the implementation plan, we identified 10 goals, and within each of those goals there are several strategies. So I'll quickly summarize what those are and then open it up for any questions and comments and so on. So the first goal is to create opportunities to develop a diverse and affordable housing stock to meet the needs of changing demographic profile of the city. And under that goal, we have several strategies that basically are designed to continue some of the good stuff that the city's been doing, working to maintain funding programs and ensuring housing rehab and first-time homebuyer programs that meet the needs of the city's citizens. Expanding mechanisms to allow Quincy's seniors to age in place and to better serve persons with disabilities. Encourage home ownership opportunities by providing and promoting available resources to renters and first-time homebuyers. And to explore the feasibility of an ordinance that might encourage development of affordable housing specifically designed to meet accessibility and adaptability designs. The second goal is to encourage affordable housing development to achieve, exceed, and maintain the 40B goal of 10%. And the strategies there are basically to monitor what you have. You're very close to that 10% goal. And with projects in the pipeline and assuming that development occurs as projected, within the time period of this plan, you should be able to meet those goals. But the plan sets forth a target for a 0.5% increase or a 1% increase each year. It shows the numerical goals and so on and so forth. And that's all laid out in the plan. And also to just monitor the plan, monitor implementation of the plan so that you can adapt to changes as they come up, changes in circumstances of the economy that may impact future housing development. Goal 3 is to develop strategies to ensure that existing affordable housing units are preserved for long-term affordability. Strategy there is to monitor and preserve existing affordable units. When looking at the inventory of your 40B units, when we started the project, we identified that there were several hundred units that were deed restricted only through 2015, but through the efforts of the city and the cooperation of developers, those units, the terms of the deed restrictions were renegotiated and extended, so you were able to keep those units on the inventory, and therefore you weren't losing any of the affordable units that are already counting toward your 10% goal. Within the time frame of this 5-year plan, there's only 13 units that are scheduled to expire in 2019. So you're in pretty good shape from that perspective. Goal 4 is to review and revise the zoning ordinance to remove barriers and create more incentives toward the production of affordable housing. And here we talk about considering where increased density might be appropriate to be supported, identifying and minimizing barriers to housing in the zoning ordinance, so just undertake a review of the zoning code and just see where changes can be made if needed. Goal 5 is to identify sites that are most appropriate to accommodate Quincy's projected growth in housing. As part of the planning process and the focus of the second forum, We had people identify potential locations where housing might be appropriate. So the plan includes a map with at least general areas where that might be considered. So the plan talks about moving those opportunities forward where appropriate, remove barriers such as brownfield issues, and making sure that sites get cleaned up so that they can be used for housing if that's the way the city decides to go. Goal 6 is to leverage existing funding sources to meet existing and future housing needs. And there we talk about guiding local housing activities and coordinating with minority populations and ensure language equity in the process, holding regular informational sessions with local boards and commissions about the housing development process and mechanisms to advance housing goals, partnering with housing and community development organizations to advocate for and advance affordable housing development. The city's already doing this, so a lot of what's in the plan is just to ensure that these things stay on target. And then last one, one other key one on this goal is to utilize the Affordable Housing Trust Fund money for construction of new units and the preservation of existing ones. With money that's been put in the program and that's projected to come into the program, there's a huge resource that will be available for the city to tap to try and identify programs and sites where housing can be preserved and developed in the future, as well as to provide financial assistance where that's appropriate. And then finally, to publicize those clearinghouses to assist residents to obtain information about affordable housing opportunities. Goal 7 is to minimize the displacement of lower income households and businesses. One option there is to explore the feasibility of a condominium conversion ordinance so that when units get converted to condos, that appropriate alternatives be provided for rentals. Supplementing existing tenant rental assistance programs, preserving existing affordable rental housing. Goal 8 is to promote healthy housing and living. And here we talk about connecting homeowners and renters to energy efficient, renewable energy programs, incentives, things along those lines, because energy costs are clearly a significant part of the whole housing cost issue that we want to try and address. So along with that, retrofitting public housing to meet high energy efficiency standards and encouraging property owners and residents to minimize in-home exposure to irritants and pollutants. And to site housing to further reduce exposure to outdoor pollutants. And finally, under that goal, to continue to provide services and seek new housing opportunities to reduce the homeless population through, again, existing programs that the city is already participating in. Goal 9 is to ensure that the city is affirmatively furthering fair housing obligations between the Supreme Court decision last summer and new rules that came down from the Housing and Urban Development Department of the federal government. There's a lot of activity going around regarding fair housing. So the strategy here is to work with a variety of partners to implement the regional fair housing plan. Finally, the last goal is to ensure that staff and commissions have the capacity to implement this housing plan. So we talk about ways in which the capacity of the Affordable Housing Trust Committee can be enhanced through staff and other resources to ensure cross-board coordination and alignment on housing activities so that all the boards and commissions and departments are talking to one another in the same voice about housing issues, and continue to seek out opportunities for the city to work collaboratively with a lot of other organizations, whether it be the Quincy Housing Authority, the Quincy Community Action Program, Asian Community Development Corporation, NeighborWorks, Southern Mass, and other local groups that are talked about in the plan. And finally, to continue to explore opportunities to work collaboratively with nonprofit housing developers to build the kind of housing that the city needs to meet the needs of its residents. So that's a summary of what the plan says. At the meeting we had in December, we went over a lot of the data. So I didn't want to spend time doing that now, but it's all in the plan, and happy to answer any questions.
Questions from board members? Go ahead.
Can you just talk a little bit about how, so Quincy is, and you mentioned it in the report, in terms of housing prices, in terms of the average incomes of residents in Quincy, that's going up. We're seeing changes in demographics in terms of young professionals coming. I'm just curious how that is impacting sort of an affordable housing plan and strategy and the opportunity.
Well, in terms of defining the need, there are a lot of moving parts. We have housing prices that are increasing. Yes, the incomes are increasing, the demographics are changing, but there's a lot of different changes that are happening that affect sort of subgroups within the city. So while there are some age groups and demographic groups that might be seeing increases in their income and might be able to meet some of the, might be able to afford some of the housing that's available, even though those prices are increasing. There are other demographics, particularly senior citizens, that are seeing a larger gap in terms of what they can afford and what their income is and what's available on the market. So the plan has to cover all of these different contingencies, and we try and lay out a number of different strategies that focus on affordable housing needs within the city in general, but then also drill down a little bit to make sure that we meet the needs of various subgroups, demographic groups within the city. So overall, because the population of the city is increasing in general, because household size overall is getting smaller. This is something that we're seeing across the state and across the country. That's the reason that we're seeing the demand for a fair number of new housing units over beyond the length of this plan, which is a 5-year plan. We take the projections out to 2030. So that's where some of those numbers come from. But then when we look at the income, and as I mentioned, almost 60% of the city, despite all those other things, are theoretically income eligible for some form of affordable housing program. So that's really the kind of thing that we want to keep our eye on. But then, when we think about the needs of senior citizens and where they would like to live out their final years and how you're going to provide services, whether it's transportation or public health or whatever other services they might need. These are all some of the moving parts within the plan.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
quick question. I apologize, I wasn't here on the board in December, so I wasn't here for your presentation. So we have dipped below the 10% goal?
Slightly.
Okay. And so we had been above that prior, had we not, at one point?
I think at one point, I don't have the numbers from previous years in front of me.
And it's expected that we will get, what did you say earlier in your presentation, that we will achieve the 10% goal?
We think that if the housing production goals in this plan are met, and if the projects that are in the pipeline provide the affordable housing that's slated for those, that sometime within the period of this plan, you should. There are two options. One is that you may get enough to meet the 10%, which is the big goal. The sub goals are that maybe you can show that you've generated units to show progress, and that would be either increasing it annually by 0.5% or every 2 years by 1%.
Thank you.
And the plan sort of lays out what those numbers could look like, but there's a lot of variables that could change what those numbers will be. But overall, based on where we think think things are going and the fact that you are pretty close, sometime within the timeframe of this plan, you should be there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? I just have one. Section 8 certificates are not eligible towards the 10%?
Correct.
Because they're old, if you will.
Yeah, they're not deed restricted.
And
Or
written-
the units aren't deed restricted, and the certificates are not.
It's always been the case.
Yeah.
Any other, and this is kind of putting you on the spot, you represented the 60% of the city would be or is eligible for any of the affordable, some or all of the affordable housing programs. How does that compare to some of the other communities within MAPC of comparable size?
Let me see.
I don't mean to
It's
pick on-
probably in here, somewhere in the report, but we do have some tables that show how, what we did was we compared Quincy with Boston, Braintree, Holbrook, Milton, Randolph, and Weymouth. So as I recall, so Quincy's median household income, for instance, was the second lowest among those communities. And somewhat lower, 28% lower than the median household income for Norfolk County. I don't know if you have that
It looks
number
like-
handy.
It looks like at least Boston and Randolph have more.
They're higher.
Okay.
But whenever we do these plans, we usually compare with either adjacent or similar communities. So those answers are in the report for a number of different things. We compare the demographics, the housing stock, the income, the affordability, all of those things.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
I'd like to make a motion, if I could, Mr. Chairman, that the planning board report to the director of the city's Office of Planning and Community Development, the mayor, and the Quincy City Council the following: that we have reviewed the City of Quincy Housing Production Plan for 2016 through 2021, and that we find the comprehensive needs assessment, the affordable housing goals, and the implementation strategy set forth in the housing production plan are in conformance with 760 CMR 56.03, Section 4. And secondly, that we recommend that the City Council approve the City of Quincy Housing Production Plan and authorize the mayor of the city to submit the plan to the Department of Housing and Community Development for approval.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. There's the unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking this out, Chairman.
Yeah, we got some. Okay, the next item is continued public hearing for 115 Arlington Street, site plan special permit. Planning board case 2016-01, continued from the March 9th public planning board meeting. I have a letter from Councilor Kane. I will not be able to make it to the meeting tonight, so I wanted my thoughts. So I wanted to have my thoughts included in a positive favor of this project. I had the opportunity to spend some time with Jim Goldenberg of Cafaris and Jim Casado of Work Inc. a few weeks ago. Jim Goldenberg toured Mr. Casado and me around 3 hotel facilities that were developed by Cafaris, one in Chelsea, one in Medford, and one in Somerville. Each of the hotels were high-quality hotels that are akin to the project Cafaris seeks to develop in Quincy. I'm including a few pictures of the rooms of the Town Place Suites, a Marriott brand in Chelsea. This is the brand of hotel that would be most likely to be located in Quincy. The extended stay rooms, which include a kitchenette, are luxury accommodations that would please any business or vacation traveler. I wholeheartedly believe this development at this particular location will not only dramatically improve the empty property at Arlington Street, but will also set the tone for improving the greater West Squantum Street corridor from Montclair and Wollaston. I'm confident the Cavars will work with the community to ensure that this project will develop with the least amount of disturbance to the abutting neighborhoods, and will take measures in order to mitigate any problems or concerns at present or in the future. I'm grateful to the property owners working, and his team in particular, who have worked so hard to ensure that this property is placed in the right hands, including the community through each step of the process. Thank you for your opportunity to comment. Please do not hesitate to contact me if there are any further questions. Best regards, Ian King. Councilor.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman and three members of the board, my name is Bob Hines, and I represent the Cavars, who's present here before you today. Richard Goldenberg, the primary person from Cavars is here, as well as his whole team to answer any further questions the board has. This board may recall, before this board prior, where we proposed a 140-unit hotel. This is on a 58,000 approximate square foot lot that's empty right now. The working building was there before. When we first presented this case to this board, there were some issues as far as we had a peer review. The peer review got involved. We've had numerous meetings, not only with the board council, but with the planning department's issues. There was a lot of communication back and forth addressing some of the issues the peer review had, and we found that in the long term, there was a resolution to just about all these issues. They are asking the board that they're here to answer any further questions the board has, and any further questions the public has, so they can move forward on this project. They feel they put the work into it. I know the board and the planning department has put an incredible amount of time into this project, and they've done a tremendous amount of work as far as with the peer review to make sure this is the appropriate building, the appropriate project at that site. I submit to you that we're all here to answer questions, but we strongly feel that this, as I think the planning department would say, is an appropriate building, an appropriate project for this site that has been, unfortunately, dilapidated for a while. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Questions from board members? Hearing none. Go ahead.
I just wanted to inform the board that we have worked closely with the developer on this and resolved pretty much all of the issues that have come up. The city's staff and our peer reviewer have gone through all of the different issues that came up, and we feel they've been able to resolve them. We have heard from the fire department that they're comfortable with the access for fire trucks. There was just one area that we had asked the applicant to kind of show us visually, is where the dumpster is located. I'm not sure whether they were able to bring that up. The only concern was that where the dumpster opens, the enclosure for the dumpster opens up, there was a small door there leading to the pool area in the original plans, but they were able to move that. I think so in the final plan that we received should show that change. The other issue was the cars backing out onto, from those two end spaces near the dumpster, and whether that could be, over in the bottom corner, Bob? Yeah, those spaces over there, and whether there could be any pedestrian issues there. But again, we were hoping we could see some kind of a visual of what that area looks like if you're standing there looking at it, and what those spaces might be. I don't know whether you were able to put that together.
A visual of it, or the what it would see a rendering? We don't have a rendering of the trash.
You don't have a rendering for the trash area?
I can speak to
Yeah.
the plan view here, that shows that the cars can get back in and out, and as far as the concerns with the flush sidewalk here, we've actually added bollards.
Oh,
along
okay, you
it
did, that's, okay.
To provide
You did,
protection for the vehicles.
So you did include the bollards?
Yes.
That was really one of the last issues that I think we had. Yeah, the parking area. Yeah, we had talked about the possibility of putting some landscape within the parking area. I mean, we understand that the applicant may want to develop that area in the near future, but I'm not sure. I think the board might have some comments on that themselves.
Yeah, I for one, I looked at the plan, I'd like to see some sort of separation, which my recommendation would be some sort of landscaping in the island, if you will, and some sort of curb stop. I understand it's all flush.
We actually put that comment was brought up, I think, by the traffic department. And we decided we would put curb stops all along here. So that the cars wouldn't drive onto it. And then this area is also our snow storage area. That's why, part of the reason why we wanted to keep it open and not have it raised curb with planting in that area.
I understand the need for the storage, the snow storage, but, you know, it's greener longer than it's wet and snowing. I just think it's a nice finish for the parking lot. I understand your thought process on it, but I, for one, would like to see some sort of landscaping. So you've already accommodated my concern over the stops, but I would like to see, and you've got landscaping along the perimeter. I don't know how wide that area is for landscaping. I don't think it's all that.
Yeah, we could do some potted plants or
That's
something.
fine.
Yeah.
Something that can be moved for the winter so
Correct.
that it wouldn't, so we'll do some sort of potted trees or.
It just doesn't look like a piece of barren asphalt. But, yeah.
We do have some recommendations, but after the board is comfortable.
Any other comments? Go ahead. Lisa.
I imagine that those who are staying at the hotel would want to frequent the shopping center with the 99 restaurant. Is there, I know right now, it's not a clear pathway to get there. I imagine that when this hotel is built, there will be sort of straightforward way to get from there to that shopping center.
Sure. Right now, there are 2 tip-down ramps here, and we're going to be landscaping this whole edge to mimic what's being landscaped all the way down here. So it's going to be a very pleasant experience for pedestrians. But they would just walk down this sidewalk in Fayette, they'd go across here with across the striped hands, and then go right down here and then into the 99 or go to the grocery store or any other shopping areas.
Just the board knows, one thing we did, this building was further up. And one thing they took into account, they moved it back to make it more pedestrian friendly. And that's why in the beginning, the building was more sponsorship, it was moved back. They want to make the whole place. We imagine a lot of people staying there could be in the community to go into Boston back and forth. So we understand they're probably not going to have vehicles. So we need to make it much more pedestrian friendly.
Bob, have a recommendation? Oh, yeah, we've taken testimony on this before, but if there are people who have not spoken on this issue, I'd welcome them to come up if they have a comment. Sure.
My name is Ali Shaughnessy. I live at 32 Essex Street in Squantum. I had a comment before to the gentleman. I congratulate you. I think it's a great idea, a great plan. A vacant spot is no good. I think the hotel's a super idea. I had asked you this before. I was wondering, are you going to build this union, or are you going to build this open shop? And one of the reasons, the concerns that I asked is recently, there's been a tremendous amount of conversation in the city council room about an ordinance in regards to the underground economy. And ironically, tonight we're talking about affordable housing and stuff. I think it's a twist, not on you, but I think it's a twist, ironically, we talk about affordable housing here in the city of Quincy, and there's so much development, and a lot of the development is being done by companies that are living with that underground economy, and they're cheating the system. Now, I know that you can't address that issue here, and I know the city council is trying to, but one of the ways we can stem the tide of the underground economy is to go to developers and ask them, are you going to be a responsible developer? I'm asking you specifically, are you going to be a responsible developer, i.e., not allow the subcontractors to bring in the sub to the sub so that they cheat the system and they don't pay the workers' compensation. They bring in workers from out of state. They bring in workers that don't pay any taxes. I want to know from the owners, what's your plan? We all want to know that.
Okay, well, I'll say this. When we first came before this board, that was one of the issues. We had a couple of iron workers here that had expressed a concern. What we did is we actually met with the carpenters union, I believe she's here. And we also told the people that we had, do some research on the cars. They've never done that. They don't get involved with the underground economy. I've had a good conversation with the carpenter, representative of the Carpenters Union. There is an underground economy, absolutely. But they don't have the reputation. That's not how they ever dealt. We have, as far as we meet, we have no problem with any single union. But I'll tell you, we will never get involved in the underground economy, and they don't have that reputation. Though I understand that there is out there, they are not the one that have that. And I think any research done in this company at all, anybody will see that they are not involved in that type of business.
No, I'm not suggesting that they are involved with that. And I know that their reputation is excellent. And they've done some nice projects in Boston. So specifically, when you put this out to bid, and you know who you're gonna put out to bid, you have the general contractors that you normally would use. They're all reputable businesses. And some that are even non-union are reputable businesses, and they do it right. I just want to hear from the owners. Specifically, are you going to put this out to the union contractors or the non-union contractors?
Well, we talked about this at the last
Yes,
meeting.
sir. Yes.
What I said was we are an urban developer. We're used to developing in neighborhoods. We're long-term holders. So what's important to us is to be good neighbors and to be long-term neighbors. We value local employment, both within the hotel and in building the hotel. And we're going to give a particular preference to that. We will be talking to all trades, union trades, as well as non-union trades. I can't commit to you that this is going to be a union project, but I can commit to you that we will sit down with everybody to talk about this and work as hard as we can. And we have a strong commitment to local contractors.
I appreciate
We work
that.
very hard to do that.
I just want to, I know that you can't specifically stem the tide yourself, but just so you know that it's out there. We're already talking about it in the city council. It's just not right because they cheat the system, not you. I know you build good projects, and I'm proud of what you're going to do here. I congratulate you. That's wonderful. And thank you for signing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else want to speak? Or we also have sign-in sheets for, if you don't want to speak, over on the windowsill over here. Anyone that wants to sign in favor or sign in opposition? Okay. Hearing none. I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing. For a second? All those in favor? Aye. Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Based on the interdepartmental review and the outside peer review, the department recommends that the board approve the site plan review in accordance with Quincy zoning ordinance Title 17, Section 9.5.1, subject to the following conditions. I do apologize, they're lengthy. I will speak as quickly as I can. Condition 1, the applicant shall seek approval from the City of Quincy Conservation Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, or Zoning Enforcement Officer as appropriate for any necessary relief or findings relating to the City of Quincy zoning ordinances. The applicant shall provide a construction management plan to the city's traffic engineer for review and approval at least 1 month prior to submission of the building permit. Said CMP shall include A, truck route for deliveries, traffic management plans for roadway work, details of construction, fencing, signage, and driveway. B, truck delivery routes to and from the highway. C, traffic management plans for the sidewalk replacement, curb ramps, utility construction. D, construction signage. E, construction work hours and days. F, hours and days for deliveries. G, an erosion control plan. H, provide a schedule of the work being done on the site and off-site. I, location of construction fencing and gate on a plan with a crushed stone apron. J, the following statement should be included in the plan. In quotations, provide the city's traffic engineer 3 business days notice that construction will begin, end quote. K, provide a description of any work being done in the street and provide a traffic management plan to perform this work for approval by the city's traffic engineer. Number 3, once the traffic management plan is approved by the city's traffic engineer, it shall be submitted to the city's engineering department as part of the application for a street obstruction and street opening permit. Number 4, the applicant shall submit a letter and proposed plans for any proposed street regulatory signs to be installed, which shall include type of sign, location of the sign, why it is needed, to the city's traffic engineer at least 12 weeks prior to installation. Any signs installed on public ways will need the approval of the Quincy City Council prior to installation. Number 5, hours for the delivery of materials during construction shall be determined by the city's traffic engineer upon submission of the construction management plan. Number 6, the applicant shall be responsible for the construction of the pedestrian signals across Arlington Street, as shown on the approved plan. The location of and changes to the signal timing shall be approved by the city's traffic engineer. The applicant shall submit a plan for approval at least 8 weeks prior to construction of the pedestrian traffic signals, including a traffic management plan. And the applicant shall contact the city's traffic engineer at least 3 business days in advance of performing the actual construction. Number 7, the applicant shall be required to obtain a stormwater management permit from the City of Quincy Department of Public Works with the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds prior to the start of construction. Number 8, the applicant shall coordinate with City of Quincy Department of Public Works and Mass Department of Environmental Protection to identify any appropriate infiltration and inflow projects to be approved by the City of Quincy Department of Public Works prior to the issuance of the building permit. Number 9, the developer must submit documentation that construction activities proposed for the development of this facility will not cause rodent problems for abutters. The applicant shall submit a rodent control plan to the Department of Health for review and approval prior to any site activity. A dust and noise control plan shall be developed and incorporated within all construction specifications and permits issued for this project. Prior to construction of the proposed swimming pool, an application and detailed plans must be submitted to the Health Department. Said plans must undergo satisfactory review in accordance with 105 CMR 435, minimum standards for swimming pools. Once installed, the pools must be inspected, and prior to actual use, the pools and operator must receive an annual operational permit from the Health Department, as so provided under 105 CMR 435. Number 12, a portion of the site known as 3 Arlington Street is listed as a disposal site under State 21E regulations. In October of 2015, a permanent solution with conditions was determined to be achieved at the site. According to the conclusion segment of PSWC, prepared by Woodard and Curran for Work, Inc., the method 3RC demonstrates that a condition of NSR no significant risk of harm to human health, safety, public welfare, and the environment exists under current and anticipated foreseeable conditions, with the caveat that a potential vapor intrusion pathway may exist which currently cannot be quantitatively evaluated. Since VOCs remain in groundwater beneath the site above GW2 conditions, any future redevelopment of the site should implement construction design measures to mitigate potential impacts to indoor air. From that, we've created the condition that the applicant shall be responsible for implementing design measures that will mitigate any potential impacts to indoor air quality. Prior to obtaining their building permits, the applicant shall submit plans showing these mitigation design members to the Department of Health for review and approval. Number 13, the applicant shall install survey monuments to delineate the public rights of way. The monuments shall be set by a professional land surveyor prior to issuance of occupancy permits. All plantings will be maintained by the building owner and will not impede vehicle or pedestrian traffic. The applicant should ensure that snow is only stored between the 2 center aisles and not at the ends of the parking aisles. Snow stored at the end of the parking aisle may impede sight lines for vehicles exiting parking spaces and maneuvering throughout the site. Snow should not be stored in piles higher than 4 feet. If snowfall amounts generate piles greater than that, the applicant should be responsible for removing the snow from the site. Upon completion of the project, the applicant shall furnish to the City of Quincy Building and Engineering Departments a digital file of as-built plans showing all utilities, building footprints, reference bounds, and benchmarks defining the total site, facilities, and rights-of-way. The applicant shall submit a stormwater operation and maintenance plan, which shall be recorded at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. The applicant shall notify the planning board 1 week prior to the start of construction in order to determine a time to conduct an on-site inspection with the City of Quincy and our city's designated representative to observe the erosion controls installed at the site and review the erosion controls anticipated to be employed during construction. At any point during construction, the applicant shall allow the City of Quincy and/or the city's designated representative to enter the site for purpose of making observations as to the compliance of site construction with the approved site plans and conditions of approval. The city of Quincy may at its discretion use consultants to supplement city staff for, but not limited to, the purpose of site construction observation. The consultant review escrow account should be fully funded to the original amount of $15,000 prior to the issuance of building permits. And the hours for construction should be as follows: 7 to 6, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, Saturday. All construction and delivery shall be prohibited on Sunday unless approved by the chief of police. And the hours, again, for delivery of materials shall be determined by the traffic engineer.
Before I ask for a vote, can I just enter 2 additional comment letters that have been received? The first one is from the superintendent of the fire alarm division, Mr. William Griffin. Upon review of the revised plans and comment letters, I agree with the driveway design and emergency vehicle access as shown. I have no further comment at this time. Signed, William E. Griffin. And the second one is from Mr. Jay Duca, who is the director of inspectional services. I reviewed the plans for the above referenced project and I have no comment. Well, housekeeping. Okay, the recommendation has been made by the department. Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, and three members of the board, thank you very much.
Thank
Ladies
you.
and gentlemen, thank you for your patience and your work on this. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Stevens?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, planning board members. My name is Robert Stevens. I'm a principal planner here for the city of Quincy. I'm here before you to give a brief update on our coastal resiliency and climate planning. The first part I'd like to point out for members of the audience is this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Quincy High School. We are going to be holding a coastal resiliency public forum. Everyone here in the audience is invited to attend, and we'd love to have you at that forum. So the planning department has been working with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council for the last year. Some of you might recall we had a large kickoff event at the Germantown Neighborhood Center on Earth Day of last year to start this coastal planning effort. I'm here before you to, again, note that we have another major public event here coming this Saturday. And I am currently in the process of engaging each one of the city's land use boards on the topic of coastal resiliency. Some of the areas that we're looking at is sea level rise. We're also looking at stormwater systems. One of the predictors is intensity and frequency of rain events. And a third item we are looking at is heat island. Heat waves in the summertime are more likely to increase, and there are some health impacts as well as infrastructure impacts as a result. So I met with the zoning board a couple of weeks ago, and I met with the Conservation Commission last week, and I wanted to allow this board an opportunity to have a brief discussion on any of the concerns that they see with these issues for us to take it back to the working group that we've established with MAPC, and for us to take a little bit of a closer look. Now, as far as scheduling goes, we are working on a coastal zone management grant that we received last year. We are currently doing a vulnerability assessment, and it'll lead to a climate action plan. We believe that will be, at least the initial drafts will be finalized over the summer. It's our intention to take this, the plan before the city council in the fall for approval. And during that time, I will be back in front of this board and the other boards with that plan to solicit some specific feedback and also the endorsement of that plan at that time. So at this time, I'd like to open up the discussion with the members here with any concerns or comments they have on this issue that, again, we could take back to the planners and our partners that we're working on, and we can discuss those issues.
Any comments? Board? Questions? Observations? Please.
Just a point of clarification, the focus of the project is sort of coastal issues, so water impacts, like climate change and things like that. That's because when you talk about a climate report, that can include a lot of things like renewable energy and things that will help preserve the climate. I'm assuming that's not part of it, like solar stuff, and this is mostly concerning the coastal situation.
Right, a very good question, Member Camiso. It's our intention that the report will try to include as many of these items as possible. So you're looking at greenhouse gas emission reductions. There will be a discussion and analysis of that. Again, it's not a baseline study, but this report is going to help guide the policy in this city moving forward, and that could be a recommendation that the city should move forward with greenhouse gas emission reduction analysis and studies. So we will include that. Sea level rise gets a lot of the attention, largely because we have 27 miles of coastline. So there is a lot more of the issues, and it's our intention to take on all of them.
You mentioned, I think the term was heat islands, is that what you?
Correct.
Said, I'm not really sure what that is, but I kind of guess. And it reminds me of something that we did with this board a number of years ago, when we had a subcommittee think about green building initiatives that we should put forward as ideal for our developers to be thinking about when coming before this board. And Mr. Stevens, I'm sure that you'll remember a number of the outcome, none of which have been really put forward to us. Everybody uses energy efficient windows, and they tell us that when they're building condos, they'll make sure they have energy efficient appliances. Are there any other kind anymore? I don't know. But basically, what we've seen in those 4 or 5 years since we had the subcommittee has been far short of the lofty goals. And one, because your heat island comment made me think about it, is that we were going to push for more green roofing. And I'm not an environmental expert in exactly what that means, but I remember that there were a number of communities that pushed heavily for the use of roofs that would absorb heat because they'd have some sort of green space on the roof, and something like that never really took off. I never saw it involved in any development we've seen in the half decade since we did this subcommittee. So, if I were to have one comment, it would be to dust off those recommendations. We had, I can't remember, 7 or 8 individuals who lived in Quincy who were from a range of different professions, but all had some sort of connection to land use and development, and they had great ideas. And I think that it would be well worth taking a look at what they put together and seeing if we can make them have a little bit more teeth. Because it's one thing to get them down on paper and say that they're something that we would aspire to. It's another thing to make developers really explain to us why it's impossible for them to build a project utilizing some of those features, short of energy efficient windows and appliances. So,
great suggestion. Those green guidelines were incorporated into the Quincy Center District design guidelines. So it's for a small area. They're not incorporated citywide. So, this plan, we have engaged with the Inspectional Services Department and the Engineering Department. We will be reviewing building codes and zoning code, and there will be recommendations put forward that I think would meet your suggestion there. Thank you.
Any other comments from board members? Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Okay,
Looks
thank
like
you
a
very much for
PSA.
your time.
It looks like a PSA.
And I hope to see all the folks here on Saturday at Quincy High School. I did leave some flyers over on the windowsill for folks that want some more information. Or you feel free to give a call into the planning department, and we'll get you some information as well.
Thank
Thank
you. The next item is a continued public hearing for 18 Bates Avenue, site plan special permit planning board case 2016-02, continued from the April 13, 2016 meeting.
Good evening.
Sorry,
No, it's okay.
we waited last time till the midnight
It
hour.
happens, right?
Good evening, my name is Brad Bertola with JC Engineering. With me tonight is Andrea McKnight, counselor for the applicant. We were here last month. I'll briefly recap the project. The site is currently just over 9,000 square feet, contains a three-unit building, three-unit residential structure. We're proposing to demolish that and construct a 5-unit, 3-story residential structure. We're providing 10 parking spaces, fire, new water lines for the fire department. It's going to be sprinklered. We did receive a variance finding from the project for 5 units on the site, being only 9,000 square feet. At the last hearing, we had received some comments from the outside consultant, DPW, fire department, inspectional services, comments that we hadn't been able to address prior to last hearing. Since then, we have addressed them, received comments back, and just about everything's been addressed. A couple technical questions that we can work with DPW and the city consultant on in regards to roof dry wells. Some major changes, or more significant changes to the layout since the last hearing was relocation of 3 parking spaces to now face the rear. It allows space for van accessible handicap space and snow storage area just off the side. This is proposed to be landscaped during the off-season.
Thank you.
Another question was location of the trash facilities. Currently, they use rollaway bins, a single person, and we plan to keep those behind the structure, out of view. Besides that, I think we've addressed all the major comments. And just this week, we did get comments from Board of Health in regards to road control plan, dust control, noise control, and have that submitted prior to construction. We have no issues with doing that. So if the board has any other questions in regards to the new layout, here to hopefully answer those.
Questions? Okay, we did open this up to a public hearing in April. I would ask anybody that did not have the opportunity to speak at the April public hearing, for them the opportunity to speak on this 18 Bates Avenue. Seeing none, a motion to close the public hearing. Second? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Department have a recommendation?
We do. Again, this applicant has worked with our peer reviewer and the city's departments to address all of the issues that were identified. And after consideration of the plan and accompanying documents and comments received by the city staff, the planning department recommends approval of site plan review under Quincy zoning ordinance Title 17, Section 9.5.1 with the following special conditions. They're not as lengthy as the last ones. Some of them are similar, but they're not as lengthy. Number 1, the applicant shall provide a construction management plan to include construction truck routes at least 1 month prior to the start of construction to the city's traffic engineer for review and approval. The stormwater operation and maintenance plan shall be recorded at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. The applicant shall apply for a stormwater connection permit from the Department of Public Works before construction. I just want to stop here and mention, you should do that as soon as you can. Those take longer than everyone thinks, so I would get on that right away. The applicant shall develop and submit a dust control plan to the Department of Health for review and approval prior to any site activity. Number 5, the applicant shall submit documentation indicating that construction activities at 18 Bates Ave will not result in rodent issues for abutters. The applicant shall develop a rodent control contingency plan prior to the commencement of construction activities on the site, which will include the name and contact information for an on-call pest control company. Said rodent control plan shall be developed and submitted to the Department of Health for review and approval prior to obtaining building permits. Upon completion of this project, the applicant shall submit to the planning board as-built plans showing all utilities, building footprints, reference bounds, and benchmarks, defining total site facilities and rights of ways. Plans shall be submitted in digital format acceptable to the planning department. The hours for construction activities will be as follows: 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday. All construction and deliveries shall be prohibited on Sundays unless a different schedule is approved by the chief of police and the city traffic engineer. Number 8, the hours for delivery of materials will be determined by the city traffic engineer with the submission of the construction manager.
Board members, any questions? Entertain a motion to close the recommendation of the department. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Easiest hearing yet. Thank you very much.
The next item is a public hearing for the rear of 264 West Street, site plan special permit, planning board case 2016-5. In accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 11, the Quincy Planning Board will hold a public hearing on May 11th at 8:10 in the first floor Boards and Commissions Room, Quincy City Hall, 1305 Hancock Street, Quincy, Mass. On the application of West Street Properties LLC, 61 Reservoir Park Road, Rockland, Mass. 02370, for the site plan review under the Quincy zoning ordinance Title 17, Section 9.5.1, site plan review. The applicant proposes the demolition of the existing single-family residential structure and the construction of 8 new townhouse-style residential condominiums. The townhouse units will be located in 3 buildings, with 1 building consisting of 4 units and 2 buildings consisting of 2 units each. The buildings will be 3 stories in height, with garage parking for 2 vehicles on the first level and two levels of living space. The applicant shall also propose to provide for 5 additional off-street parking spaces for visitors, landscaping, drainage, and other site modifications. The property contains 28,412 plus or minus square feet of land and is located at rear of 264 West Street, aka 264R. The subject property is located within a residential B zoning district and is shown in Assessors Plan 4031, Lot 5. The applicant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Evan Fleming, attorney here in Quincy, 85 Clay Street, Fleming and Fleming, PC. I'm here on behalf of Steve Bayless from West Street Property LLC. Steve is a resident of West Quincy himself, and also a firefighter in the city of Quincy, and has a contracting company for a number of years, has been involved with a number of different residential construction and remodeling projects throughout the area, and is also joined by partners who have extensive experience in the construction industry and building residential homes. Steve is here with me tonight. In addition to that, Steve's put together a professional development team, including the site engineer, Greg Tansey from Ross Engineering. Greg will comment on give you a brief overview and explanation of the site plan. Also, Charlie Bamberg, a professional architect who's designed the architectural plans that you'll review tonight and over the next month. And he's also retained the services of Jack Gillen as a traffic engineer to respond to comments and concerns that were raised by not only the department, but also by the neighbors at a neighborhood meeting to ensure that we provide appropriate traffic counts and information about the access on the driveway to ensure that it's safe egress to and from the site as those questions and issues and concerns were raised by the neighbors. As you indicated, Mr. Chairman, this is an application for site plan review. In addition to the site plan review before this body, this application will also require zoning board of appeals relief, as we're requesting some relief. It's a very unusual parcel of land. It's set back actually from West Street, and its access is provided by way of a 20-foot access easement that was created when the plan was filed a number of years ago. And the history is that this house was actually moved from the highway, when the highway was built, to this location. And the house was built in 1900. It's a large 5,000 square foot home. It has about 8 bedrooms and 2 kitchens, although it's
It's actually a single-family home, or that's how it's listed on the assessor's plan. But it's a very large, deteriorated home. Mr. Bayless actually, when he purchased it a number of months ago, looked at the opportunity to remodel and even utilize the home and found that it really doesn't work. The ceiling heights are very low, 6.5, I think he indicated, foot ceiling heights, and the home just didn't work for a remodeling or renovation. And as a result, he looked at other opportunities to develop these plans. And that's what we'll present tonight, at least briefly. As the department probably has indicated to the board, this matter is under peer review, as all these matters are. And I know Mr. Jakes is here tonight and has begun his review of the plans and raised a number of comments. So because this is under site plan review and under peer review, and we haven't had an opportunity to respond to all these comments, that we anticipate and understand that the matter is going to be continued tonight. We did, however, want to make a brief presentation so that the neighbors who are here tonight have an opportunity to at least be heard as they've taken time out of their schedules to do so. So if I can just go through a really brief presentation, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tansey to talk about the site plan, and we'll leave it at that for tonight and answer any questions that the board may have as we go through. The proposal that's made tonight, as you indicated, Mr. Chairman, is, actually, if I can just highlight again the existing conditions. This site is a 28,411 square foot parcel of land zone located in a Residence B zoning district. As a single-family house presently sits on the site, it's essentially underutilized multifamily residential B lot. But residential or multifamily uses are allowed in the Residence B zoning district. But the shape and the setback nature of this lot requires a level of relief for any kind of development. Although 6 units would be allowed as a matter of right if this lot had frontage on a public way, as most lots would, this lot requires a level of relief that's being requested tonight and will be requested from the zoning board. As I indicated, the site has access via the 20-foot access easement. The right-of-way that's provided, it's 20 feet in width, and provides what we believe to be adequate access for this proposed development. As I indicated, the existing home on there is a large 5,000 square foot home with about 2,500 square feet of living area, with 8 bedrooms and 2 kitchens, and built in the 1900s. And it's the house and the site itself has become somewhat deteriorated over the years. As I indicated, the house is very difficult to remodel and reuse, but the site itself is very deteriorated. The driveway and the landscaping that surrounds the property. The exterior, the site presently provides only exterior parking via the driveway, which actually is visible from West Street. So as you look down West Street towards the home, you see cars parked on that site as well. And this site is located in a zoning area or a neighborhood that's very mixed use. In fact, there's a commercial property on 634 Willard Street, which is doors away. There's a 10-unit building that's next door to the property at 268 West Street, and 25 Schlager Avenue, which is essentially behind the site where the roadway was constructed. There's a 12-unit building on a 38,000 square foot site. So there's a very mixed type of neighborhood. It's not simply only single or two families, although there are a number of those as well. There's also multifamily buildings. And I believe the others are apartment buildings, 10 and 12-unit buildings. The proposal tonight is to remove the existing large house and construct 8 new townhouse-style residential units. As you indicated in the advertisement, it provides for 3 buildings, one consisting of 4 units as you enter the site, and then 2 additional buildings with 2 units each. The buildings will be 3 stories in height, with parking under the units. So the majority of the parking, 16 parking spaces of the 21 spaces, will be sheltered and out of view. So when parties pull in, they'll be able to park under their building, and when people look down the driveway from West Street, they won't see a sea of parking, or they won't see parking in the driveway, with the exception of the 5 additional visitor spaces that will be utilized by visitors. The topography of the site, which Mr. Tansey will talk about in more detail, actually allows for the building, the home, or the building, I should say, to be built kind of in the low area of the site. What that allows is that it allows the height of the buildings to actually be, or the profile of buildings to be far lower than the residential homes along Weston Avenue, which are single-family homes. So these buildings will be lower. So what the folks on Weston Avenue, if they were looking out of their properties, would actually see a 2-story building as opposed to a 3-story building, because they will be built into the hill. Mr. Tansey can talk about that in a little bit more detail. I'll show you at least the topography of the site. And the buildings were also designed in a way, architecturally, to also minimize the height with mansard style roofs, so that the roofs aren't pitched like a standard A-frame roof, and the overall the height will be much lower. Actually, I believe lower than even the existing home. The site will also be professionally landscaped. One of the comments that was raised by the neighbors was a concern about looking down the driveway, and what was created is a modified driveway to allow for additional landscaping in front of the 4-unit building that's directly down the driveway, and that will provide additional landscape opportunities so that it will really shield the building and provide for better and more improved green space. We had an opportunity to have a neighborhood meeting through Councilor Palmucci. And then I believe a number of the neighbors here tonight, and a number of the neighbors, as we presented the proposal, had concerns. Initially, the proposal was 11 units, and the proposal, as a result of the neighbors' concerns, was reduced from 11 to 8 units, and the building was split into two-unit buildings to make them smaller. There were changes to the architectural style to bring the buildings down in height, and as I talked about, there was additional landscaping added so that it would shelter the building from West Street. In addition to that, Mr. Bayless hired Jack Gillen as a traffic engineer to deal specifically with comments that the planning department raised, which is the traffic volumes, but also sight lines, leaving and entering the driveway. And Mr. Gillen actually has provided an initial report to deal specifically with those issues, to address the department's concerns, but also the neighbors' concerns. So that's all my initial overview presentation. I'd like to Mr. Tansey just to kind of walk through the site plan, and then we will kind of end the presentation at that point, because we understand this is going to be to another date.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn.
Good evening, members of the board. For the record, my name is Greg Tansey. I'm with Ross Engineering. I am a registered professional engineer, and I am the engineer that has prepared the site plans that you have in front of you. As Attorney Fleming had mentioned, one of the key beneficial elements of this project is the low profile. We have worked with the architect to have the units designed to be as low profile as we can. And what I have done with the site work, site grading, I have graded the site in such a way that it will lend itself, the grading will lend itself to that low profile. It will actually act as a natural screen. As you can see, this is a colored landscape rendering. We've got some nice landscaping features, some green features in this area. When you look down, this is the easement, the access easement right here. As you look down the easement, you will see some green space. You'll see plantings and trees. The unit itself is aligned perpendicular with the line of sight. This will also narrow the visibility of these units. Rather than having them facing parallel with the street, they're perpendicular. We also have screening here as well. So that is a nice benefit. You can see these are the architectural plans, the roof lines. We have had similar townhouses, projects like this approved that were very favorable. They have, again, you can see the low profile of the units. And again, this is another rendering. You can see we have stepped the units to accommodate grading. And this, when we get into, this is the site plan. Brief overview. This is the existing condition.
Excuse me, sir, can you just kind of angle it so that the public can see it? I think some of them have seen it, but I'm not sure they all have, so.
Okay, sure.
We've seen it, so you can,
Yeah.
I'd rather them to see it than us.
Okay. I think, does this accommodate everyone? So what we have here, again, we've got a driveway that comes in, it's a turnaround area. We've got the existing dwelling. This dwelling is going to be demoed. We've got a lot of topographic grading here where the slope goes up. What we intend on doing is to keep everything level into the slope. And you can see on the next page, this is the grading plan, the proposed structures. You can see this topography, it's going to slope down. And that'll keep the whole development a lot lower, so it's less visible from this side and from this side of the site, and of course from the West Street side. What runoff will do is it will flow down the slope towards the center of the project, not away to the abutters. And we've got stormwater controls that we've proposed throughout various areas of the site. This is called a low impact design, or a lid design. Many of you are familiar with that, I'm sure. And then it's collected into a subsurface stormwater recharge unit here, and a stormwater recharge unit system over here. They are interconnected. They will flow to one another, so if there's an overflow situation, one will kick in and help the other if it needs to in a 100-year storm. We have another subsurface recharge system here, and we also have some infiltration trenches along the access to the site. What this will do is it'll prevent the existing stormwater that is discharging out onto West Street. It'll mitigate it, it'll also treat it. Yeah, we've got, this is another color up. It shows the utilities. We're going to be bringing the utilities in off of West Street. We're going to utilize the existing sewer line that comes onto the site. From there, we're going to extend a new sewer system, a nice collection system that's easy to maintain. It's very simple. You can see it's all pretty much straight lines. We've got a nice water system. It's going to come in on one side of the access system, access easement, and it will charge a fire suppression system within units 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we have our domestic feeds off of that. We also are taking overhead wire, overhead electric and power to a new telephone pole, and then we're going to bring it below ground in a nice, well laid out and manageable fashion. We also will have the gas line on the other side, away from the water, which is a very good layout from a utility design standpoint. From there, we've got another layout managing snow storage areas, and it also depicts the setbacks off the buildings, turning radii of the parking area. We also have a zoning table there. From there, we get into our construction details. I'm not gonna, there's really nothing to discuss about those, that they're highly technical in nature, and they are being under peer review. And finally, the last thing that we'd like to discuss is the accessibility of the site and the layout of the development. This in red, these are fire truck turning radiuses. They were furnished to me by Bill Griffith from the fire department. This is the largest, this is a template for the largest fire truck that's, that the city of Quincy has. And as you can see, the swaths, the turning radius of this particular vehicle can negotiate the turns into the, in and around the site. You can back out into a turning spur here, and of course the fire truck can exit the site. And with that, I think I've covered everything. I'll turn it over to Attorney Clemens.
Any questions from the
That's essentially the presentation for this evening. The fire turning radius, obviously with the fire truck, was an important feature. We understand. We'll still have follow-up conversations with Mr. Griffith and the fire department to ensure that they're satisfied and provide an appropriate plan. That's our presentation tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. Before I open it up to the public, our peer reviewer is Woodard and Curran, and Mr. Jakes is here. I don't know if you want to make some comments. Yes. I knew you were here.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Paul Jakes, registered professional engineer with Woodard and Curran, the peer review consultant in this case. Our review was limited to the stormwater utility and common engineering practices of the site. We reviewed the initial submittal and issued our letter report number 1 on May 6th. I'll just go over some of the main concerns, the 3 components that we looked at. The main stormwater management system concerns that we have are the infiltration system setbacks, specifically the setback from the property lines and the effects that the systems could have in the adjacent properties. The second concern with the stormwater management system is the design infiltration rates that were used in the design of the stormwater management system. The applicant is using infiltration rates of 2.41 inches per hour and 8.27 inches per hour that are consistent with a loamy sand and a sand texture. And based on the soil evaluations that were conducted at the site, the underlying soil conditions were identified as a sandy loam, which is more in line with a 1.02 inch per hour infiltration rate. So we've asked that the engineer look at those infiltration rates and adjust the system accordingly. The main utility concerns consist of whether or not the existing utility infrastructure in West Street is suitable to support the development, the 8 units. And the second concern was the water and sewer crossings. There's several water and sewer crossings throughout the site. We've asked for a detail to show what protection measures will be implemented to protect the water service. In general, some of the general concerns, we've asked for details for the retaining walls, stamped by a Massachusetts registered structural professional engineer, specifically concerned with the ones in close proximity to the property line, again, any impacts on adjacent properties. And in regards to the vehicle movement diagram, we had just asked that there be coordination with the fire department. I can answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this project is being reviewed currently with city staff. We have gotten comments from the Department of Public Works engineers and from the Department of Health and we're waiting comments from the city's traffic engineer currently. But what we'll be doing is continuing the review. And I'm anticipating that next week we'll have a meeting with the developer and the city's department staff and peer review to go over some of these issues that have been identified. So.
Thank you. Said this before, I apologize. Before I let the public speak, I have a letter addressed to me as chair from Councilor Palmucci. Attaches a copy of a constituent mailing notifying and encouraging area residents to attend the Wednesday, May 11th planning board hearing on case number 2016-05. The application for West Street Properties LLC for approval to demolish the existing single-family residential structure and construct 8 new townhouse-style residential condominiums at 246R West Street. Roughly 495 area residents received this letter and attached project description. I've asked any of the residents to call or email me to specifically communicate their thoughts, questions, and opinions to the board directly. Also, in November of 2015, I held a community meeting for the original proposal. Close to 40 area residents attended this meeting and heard details of the original proposal and were encouraged to ask questions. He's also given me a copy of the letter that he circulated. One other letter, I have a letter from Stephen Conley, 28 Hickory Lane, Weymouth, Mass. My name is Stephen Conley, and I've owned 252, 254 West Street, a two-family dwelling since 2003. I resided in that property for approximately 5 years. In the 13 years I have owned the property, I have watched the neighborhood decline. In recent years, there have been a resurgence of new construction and rehabilitation of existing homes in the neighborhood. I believe this is a positive step for West Quincy. I was notified this week of a possible construction project on the property that abuts my property. The project entails demolition of the existing two-family home and the construction of 8 three-story condominium units consisting of 3 separate structures. I have viewed the plans for the project and have some deep concerns. My first concern is the amount of units being placed on the 28,000 square foot lot. The largest of these structures will be only 15 feet off my property line. I once had a private backyard, which was a selling point in Quincy real estate market. Now the prospective owners of the condos to be built will look out their back window or deck from their 3rd floor into my backyard. This seriously devalues my property, especially from only 15 feet away. I feel the parking will also be a major issue. Each unit will have a garage. However, there are only 5 parking spaces for guests. I'm aware that this meets the city parking requirement. If there are 8 two-bedroom units, it is safe to say that there will be 16 vehicles parked in the complex. Is that to say, on any given weekend, only 5 owners can have a guest? Where are the other guests parked? It's impractical to think that they can find parking in an already crammed 28,000 square foot lot. The only option for overflow parking is to park on West Street. If the overflow of vehicles from this new project are forced to park on West Street, they will have to park in front of my house and block the MBTA bus stop. It's impractical to rely on the Quincy Police Department to constantly enforce parking issues at this location. West Street is a high-traffic cut-through from Route 93/128. It's posted 30-mile-an-hour zone. Residents that live on West Street are aware that vehicles routinely travel well above the posted speed limit. If one were to travel the length of West Street, you will observe no vehicles parked along the side of the road. Residents do not park on West Street for several reasons. There are MBTA bus stops, including one in front of my house. As mentioned above, the speed at which vehicles travel on West Street. Finally, there was no parking there. The project will have no frontage on West Street. To access the proposed project, vehicles will have to access by way of small 20-foot wide driveway. This means any flow of parking will be in front of the other residents' home on West Street, rather than in front of the complex. This unfairly affects residents that live in the immediate area on West Street. Potentially, there could be a constant flow of 16 or more vehicles in and out of the complex via the small 20-foot wide driveway. This could be disturbing to the neighbors due to the headlights shining into the 2 houses across from the entrance where the vehicles leave and my house where the vehicles enter. I'm not against the construction of condos on this site. My issue is the amount of condos being built and the amount of traffic related to that many residents. Respectfully submitted, Stephen Conlon. Okay, I'm going to open it up. Anyone that wishes to speak on the project will identify themselves. Anybody who doesn't want to get up and speak, we have sheets over the side for their positions. I saw this gentleman right here. Stand, just identify yourself.
Hi, my name's Ed McDonough. I live at 15/3 Schlager Ave. And I'm actually adjacent to the property right now. I'm behind the 4 units where it's going to be constructed. I'm concerned that they're asking for relief to put in an extra 2 units. And it's my understanding that they need to have a hardship. Well, we just bought the property a year ago. I don't understand where the hardship came from. Now, that's just one. The other is they don't have the setback, not the setback, the frontage. They're asking for relief on the frontage. Now, it's my understanding that to get the frontage, they have to put in a public road, and they're looking for an easement, and which I don't understand. If you have an easement, you're not going to get the frontage. So I have, and then I have concerns about the city employee that just said the infiltration system. I'm higher than they are, so if they're talking erosion, that concerns me. And the other thing is the parking, like you just read. The house now, the parking is technically on the side and behind. You're adding 5 units, so you're going to see more parking from the street, not less. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, down back?
Yes.
Come up. Why don't you come up here?
Make it easier. Yeah, my name is Chen Ying Nam. I live at 264 West Street. Basically, just in front of the project. So I live there. I live at 64 for 30 years. The reasons I stayed there because the living of the life, it's the quality of life, because it's quiet, nobody bothers. So now they are building the building. It's high enough on my house. So my house will be under the shadows of the project. And also in the snowy day, they have no place to put the snow on the driveway. And also, so I'm wondering, so how can they get the 20 feet of the high driveways that are going up to the project? And the rainy days, the water will be coming down to my backyard or basement. And then the cars will be up and down the driveway. So at night, the headlights will be shining to my bedroom. So I think so the quality of my life is going down the hill. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Down back. Why don't you come up?
I'm from 261 West Street, just cross street from the project.
Your name, sir?
Ken Chu. The first concern is the sewer system. Because my basement flooded twice because the city water backed up. I was told that the system cannot handle that kind of traffic, especially during the rainy season. Now adding 8 more units, that's crazy. I don't know how the water where the water gonna go. I'm in the downside, they're on the up high hill. The water coming down my house. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Do I gonna seal up my basement because they're gonna build 7 more units, like 30 more people living there? And the other thing, the exit of the driveway is like less than 200 feet from a heavy traffic intersection, which is Wheeler Street and the West Street. During a normal weekday, like between 4:30 to 6:30, those traffic is unbelievable. Now you're adding a small driveway exit with 16 more cars come in and out of the driveway in the traffic time. I don't even want to talk about it. And I don't even want to think about it. It's not something I like. I don't think anybody on West Street would like it. And the drive is tiny. Now even during a snow day, I saw the owner before it. They use a truck and they just pull one car can drive through. And the drive is barely for 2 cars. I think barely. Maybe just one car stay inside and then the other car goes up and then the car comes out. So what happened? They meet in the middle. Who goes forward, who goes back? Who knows? There's something that have to be put in consideration.
Thank you, sir. Sir?
How you doing? My name is Jimmy Dalton. I live at 191 West Street. As was written in the letter, that the people ripping down houses and building new ones, I was one of them. I have a large lot. I could have ripped it down and tried to do exactly what this guy is trying to do. Instead, I am going to raise my family. I have 3 kids and stay there. That's what I plan on doing. Some of my neighbors doing the same thing. The 20-foot easement for the driveway is the same size as this. I'd like to see if whatever the gentleman was saying, a fire truck fit through there in a car. It's not happening. Here's the thing right here. That's 17 feet. The other thing, excuse me. Like that gentleman was saying earlier, between 4 and 6, I have a video if you want to see it. It's a parking lot. No one can move on West Street. You cannot get out of your own driveway. It's nothing but a nuisance. And it's going to get persistently worse with supposedly 16 more cars. I strongly advise or ask that you decline these people even going any further than what's going on, or at least table this motion, if you don't mind. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, come back. Go ahead, yeah.
My name's Allison Rosenthal. I live at 227 West Street. I've been there for about 11 years, and my concern with this request, and one that went to the board 7 years ago, is that it's, I know they've mentioned that there's some apartment buildings and some condo units on the street, but overwhelmingly it's a family neighborhood. There's a lot of single families, some 2 families, and it's nice that there's a family neighborhood. Quincy's got mixed-use development all over the place, and frankly, it kind of stinks. It's nice to have a family neighborhood, start to know your neighbors. My fear with this proposal is that there's a lot of big lots on West Street, and my fear is there's already been 2 that have gotten approved. Now this one gets approved, gets the variance, whatever. They do that. Every other lot across the street from me on that same side, people are going to be doing the same things, especially with Quincy and all this development. They're going to say, oh, I can make a buck. Let me sell it to this developer. We'll have 8 townhouses, 8 townhouses, 8 townhouses, and it's going to push the families right out. I'm going to second guess whether or not I should stay there with my three kids. Right now, I'm thinking, yeah, this might be nice. We have enough property. We can do a little work, whatever, fix it up. We can stay here for the long run. It's convenient. But if they're going to keep developing and pushing the families out, then it's not someplace that I'm going to want to stay with my family. I have to find another little quiet street that maybe won't say, oh, there's already a couple of apartment buildings, and why not build some more? It's not a big deal. It's off a busy street. Just deal with it. So those are my concerns, and I hope that you'll take them into consideration.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Frank Camerata, and I live at 253 West Street. And I've made some comments before at the previous meeting. And before I have a comment, I'd like to ask a question. Steve came over to my house this afternoon to discuss this project. And my neighbor brought up a good point, and it dawned on me, and I spoke with Steve Conley about it as well. That driveway is very, very thin, and it's very long. So I don't understand, as the neighbor said, one car up here would have to either stop or go, and then someone in the street, which is an absolute disaster, okay? I mean, it used to be that the traffic would only back up on certain times, but I'm constantly complaining to my neighbors about the traffic. So, but getting back to the point is, how does the person get into the property? If there's someone coming down the driveway, I don't understand. Is he going to wait there in the street? You know, I mean, it's confusing and it's perplexing. And perhaps Mr. Fleming or the engineer would have an answer to that, because it's a, like as the neighbors are saying, it's a long, thin driveway. And that's my question.
Anyone else? Sir?
Yeah, Jim Carson from Loring Street. I've lived in the neighborhood my entire life. And the building is somewhat out of control. Every medium to large piece of property, they're just putting in strips of townhouse condos. The traffic is absolutely horrific in West Quincy. We're a cut-through city, plus we're overdeveloping it. This guy here scared me earlier talking about 4,100 more units in Quincy. You try to go somewhere in the morning or late afternoon, you better plan to leave extra time. It took me a half an hour to go from West Quincy to behind the new Central Junior High School this afternoon. It's absolutely outrageous, and they just keep building and building. And the people that are coming in have children. Our schools are bursting at the seams. We're already looking for more elementary schools. And if this gentleman has the right, by right, to build, why doesn't he build 6? Why does he have to have 2 extra? It's been kind of like the ongoing story in West Quincy, somebody's building and they always want a couple more than they should really be entitled to. The last thing I'll say is the driveway is a real issue. Because if they don't have enough width for 2 cars to pass each other at the same time, there's going to be some problems out on West Street with people trying to back out so somebody can come down. So that's one issue that really needs to be addressed. But I feel personally, after living in West Quincy my whole life and seeing the development, some morning we're going to get up and the toilets aren't going to flush because they can't run out. And we're not going to have any water pressure to take a shower. And the lights aren't going to come on. We're just overbuilding and we're not accounting for it with the infrastructure. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
I just say, I just want to make a comment that what he said about 6 units. I mean, they don't even have the ability to build the 6 units with the frontage without that public road. They're using an easement, and there's been a lot of concern about the public driveway. I mean, the easement driveway. That's all.
Anyone else? Sir?
My name's Steve Conley. I'm the one that wrote the letter. I wasn't aware if you remember what I read it aloud. But I do want to give Mr. Bayless a little credit. He did reach out to me. He is willing to work with fences that I mentioned had lights in there, some scrubbage and stuff like that. I did want to give him a little credit. So I did write the letter, but he seems like a very nice guy.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Anyone else? I think as staff is represented, we're taking no action on this tonight. There are some, we're awaiting some comments from various departments. And obviously the input that the people have given us tonight will be part of that consideration. When can we put this on? The June meeting or the July meeting? Okay, so.
Will they be ready? Ed, will you be ready for June 8th, do you think, or do you think we need more time?
We anticipate that we'll be ready. The comments are being addressed immediately, and we should have a response to Mr. Jakes probably within the next week. So we should be ready.
All right, so we can move to June 8th.
Could I make one additional comment?
Mr. Cameron.
I just wanted to echo what my neighbor Steve said about Steve Bayless. Although the project does have its problems, he's a total gentleman. He came across the street. He said that he would try to do something about headlights coming in, because I'm directly across from that driveway. I just wanted to give him a pat on the back for that. But there are questions that really have to be answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, we're going to put this to it'll be on our next planning board agenda, which is June 8th, Wednesday, June 8th. And for people that have additional comments for that meeting, we're welcome. And I'm sure that the council will communicate that to all of the people who received notice and obviously came tonight. So I thank everybody for coming tonight and their input. Motion to continue this to June 8th. Motion been made. Is there a second? Discussion. All those in favor? Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you leave. All right. So you know, I don't disagree, but the next item is a public hearing for public hearing for 68 to 86 Clay Street, site plan special permit, planning board case 2016-06. In accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 11, the Quincy Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 11th at 8:55 in the first floor Boards and Commission Room, Quincy City Hall, 1305 Hancock Street. On the application, the Quincy Housing Authority, Lester Gay, Modernization Project Manager, 9 Bicknell Street, Quincy, Mass. 02169, for the site plan review on the Quincy zoning ordinance Title 17, Section 9.5.1.3, site plan review. The applicant proposes to improve the deteriorated site conditions at Tobin Towers, including site improvements to the existing pavement, parking lots, sidewalks, landscape areas, and drainage. The new drainage system includes water quality units and an underground infiltration detention system to improve water quality, increase on-site infiltration, mitigate flooding in the rear parking lot, and reduce peak rates of runoff to the city storm water infrastructure. The applicant also proposes to replace all the exterior, rear, and side drives and to construct a new driveway and curb cut onto Wentworth Street to improve the vehicular circulation and to increase the number of existing parking spaces from 90 to 112. The property contains 105,460 plus or minus square feet of land and is located at 68-86 Clay Street, AKA 80 Clay Street. The subject property in the legal ad was referenced as located in a residence C, it's actually in a business C zoning district. And it's shown in Assessors Plan 5092, plot 77, lot 103. Okay, applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is David Biancabello, professional engineer with the BSC Group, here representing the applicant, which is the Quincy Housing Authority. With me here this evening is James Meritus, who is the Director of Facilities for the Quincy Housing Authority. You did a great job of summarizing what the project is, so I guess I'll quickly go through some of the details of the project, and then I can open up to any questions that you have. This project at Tobin Towers was constructed in 1976 and is a state-funded facility. This project has received funding for the improvements to the exterior site, which needs to be awarded prior to June 30th of this year. So this is actually a fast-track project for the authority. And we're moving very quickly to get this out to bid so that we can engage a contractor before the June 30th funding deadline. The project is located in the Walston section of Quincy, which is here. It's actually a 12-story existing building for elderly and disabled folks. It's affordable housing, and it has some existing rear parking lots now that potholes, cracks, curbing is all deteriorated, which is why we're giving it funding. The project really has 4 goals. The first is to repair the deteriorated sidewalks, driveways, curbing, and landscaping on the sides and the rear. The second goal is to increase on-site parking, which we're planning on doing from 91 spaces to 112, and to improve the accessibility of the site in the rear. With the deteriorated pavements, there's a lot of cracking, heaving of the sidewalks, which is causing tripping hazards. Another issue at the site is that there's some severe drainage issues in the rear back here. Upon our inspection of the site drainage, it was determined that the connections out to the city drainage systems where the pipes had a reverse flow on them, so essentially weren't draining or draining very slowly. And then really the last goal of the project is to really improve the outside area for the residents, improve a gathering area for them where they can come outside and enjoy the outdoor space. So those are really the goals of the project. As discussed previously, right now there's 2 access points on Clay Street. The access point on the northern side here is for residents only, which they have a set of parking areas in the side and in the rear. The second curb cut on the southern side is for maintenance personnel. This building also houses some of the offices for the Quincy Housing Authority, which is located down on this side in the lower end. There currently is a small seating area of some really poor condition concrete with some old benches in this area that we're really trying to improve. There's really limited landscaping on site. There's only a handful of trees. Most of this is all lawn area in the rear. And again, we're trying to improve that. The proposed site plan proposes to essentially demolish and remove the entire rear parking lot areas and replace them. One of the issues that we have is with the drainage is that because the site is set so low, we essentially need to raise up the rear in order to get positive drainage out. So in doing so, we'll be reconstructing all the parking lots. This parking lot, maintaining the driveway access, redoing the pavement, putting handicap spots here, providing a drop-off area that they don't have currently for residents, but then connecting that all the way through, out with a new driveway onto Wentworth Road, and then connecting this driveway, which currently dead ends here, connecting that all the way out, so that residents that come in do have clear circulation and access points to come out of the site. We are proposing as part of the plan to put a new seating area outside here with a pavilion, so they have some covered space for the elderly to come out here to sit and enjoy the outdoors. And we're also proposing landscape screening along the buffer zones, along the edges of the pavement. The site's been designed such that we're trying to make maintenance easy for the housing authority. That includes granite curbing along the edges, areas with no curbing in the rear, but we have snow storage areas off the rear, so that snow can be pushed in the rear very easily. So with that, I can leave it up open to any questions that you have. We have received peer review comments. We did meet with DPW, the peer reviewer, this morning. Feeling is the comments are minor in nature, and that we can address all those.
General question, the pedestrian access way that runs between Friendlies and...
Yes.
And is that yours?
This is ours, this is part of that property, and actually, it's not in bad shape up in this area, but it is not accessible as you get further down, and so the goal is to reconstruct constructed up to a point here to make it accessible.
And they'll still cut through as they cut through.
They'll still cut through, but
I know
it'll be
well,
accessible.
I grew up in the area. I remember when it was a municipal parking lot. Yes, sir.
I may have missed this one. Are any of the 3 entry points one way, or are they both?
No, none of them are one way. We're trying to make them so that they're two-way. They're two-way today, and they'll remain two-way. And then this right here will be a little bit wider, but this would also be a two-way cars. The goal is to give residents options so that they have multiple exits from the building to spread out some of the traffic flow.
And then, according to the plans, it looks like behind the building, in that green space that's in the center of the parking lot, that currently is sort of a concrete patio.
Correct.
It's going to be much more of a sort of a park feel for the residents.
Correct. We're looking at providing a pavilion-type structure in that area with some benches, seating underneath the area, some shrubbery, some trees for shading, and then some lawn area for the residents.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Okay, this is a public hearing. Okay. Okay. Peer review, we have a peer review.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Carlos Quincy, licensed professional civil engineer with EBI Consulting. So we were asked to perform a peer review of this project, mainly as it related to the stormwater on the site, noting that there have been historical concerns with the drainage, as the applicant's engineer had noted. So we received the plans late last week, and we performed a review, issued our pre-approved comments this past Monday. Subsequent to issuing those comments, we did meet with the applicant's engineer, members of their team, and staff from DPW, as well as the planning department earlier today. So a lot of these comments that we had that were noted in our initial technical memorandum identified a number of inconsistencies with the stormwater standards and the state stormwater ordinance that I believe will be able to be resolved and addressed, as they were mostly technical in nature. They related to discrepancies on the groundwater elevations and the separation from seasonal high groundwater in this area. Subsequently, the applicant has noted that they will be addressing the design to account for additional separation there. We had some questions as it related to tributary drainage from off-site properties. They've indicated that they have performed additional investigation concerning how those off-site drainage connections do tie into the site or are independently operating apart from the site, and will be making appropriate accommodations to incorporate those. And then we also had some questions as it related to identify bioretention rain garden areas on the site, as they would have changed the long-term operations and maintenance and snow management on the site. And again, those areas have since been clarified, and the applicant has indicated that they will be adjusting the plans and the stormwater design to account for those changes. So all that being said, I think they're mostly technical in nature, that it can be resolved ultimately through cooperation with the engineer as well as the DPW. Happy to answer any questions if anybody has.
Questions from the board? Thank you very much. It is a public hearing, so I'd ask anybody who would like to speak, just to identify themselves, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, my name is Philip Weiser. I'm an attorney. I have an office in Beverly, and I represent the owner of Abutting Properties. With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I've got a letter that I'd like to make part of the record, and I have copies.
Great.
For the board members. We have the client that I represent. With your permission, may I show the drawing The one that, yeah, this is it, with the one that shows the new driveway, yes. My client owns two parcels. One at 731 Hancock, which is located about here, across Wentworth Road. And then he owns this lot right here, which is a parking lot that services this building. The building houses a branch of the Eastern Bank and also a market, both pretty heavily used properties. Our concern is limited strictly to this new curb cut on Wentworth. I would point out to the board, and anyone who's familiar with it, Hancock is right out here. On this corner is a 7-Eleven that has access from Hancock Street, but it also has a curb cut off of Wentworth. My client here already has two curb cuts into his parking lot. This would now create, within a space, if you scale this off, this is less than 300 feet from the corner of my client's property out to here. There would now be a total of 4 curb cuts in that limited space. That's the only objection that we have as an abutter. The rest of the plan, I think, is terrific. The curb cut, I think, is troubling. And I would suggest or request respectfully that the board consider allowing it without that additional curb cut.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak? For or against? Sir,
Hi.
identify yourself.
Yes, my name is Tommy Chow. I'm from Chapman Street, 26. And my property is at that first driveway on the top. And I'm just concerned about drainage. So when you're going to fix that new parking lot, we get a record of how you're going to dispose your water, because that whole Chapman Street that you're adjacent to us, yes.
Yep.
All 5 of that property line, the elevation is about 2 to 3 feet below you guys. So I just, I'm very curious how you guys gonna be dispersing the water? Because I've been there since 2003, and over heavy rain days, a lot of the water has been, because of the curb inside their parking lot, some spots are cracked or broken. A lot of water are coming into our yards, which isn't a big deal. It happens like once or twice a year, randomly, depending. But like I said, I'm really wanting to find out how you guys going to disperse all your water to the new parking lot. That's about it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else that would like to speak? Hearing none. A motion to, I'm sorry.
Do you want to give the applicant the chance to respond to
Sure. Sir, whatever.
I can respond to both the curb cut and the drainage issue.
Please.
The drainage currently, there is no attenuation or infiltration that's occurring on site. So as part of the project, we are installing a large underground system that will take a lot of that storm water, detain it so it can slowly release it to the city's stormwater system, but also infiltrate some of that back into the ground. So not only with that, we're also treating the stormwater. I know that doesn't affect your flooding issues. But all the water will be captured within the parking lot areas. New curbing going in so that the catch basins can collect all the stormwater runoff. There is some broken, such as the curbing, which the water is bypassing currently. So the intent is to fix that, capture it all on site, store some of it, detain it, infiltrate some of it before it gets released to the city system. In terms of the curb cut down in this section, really the goal is really to improve the circulation on site. A lot of the residents, when they need to go towards this way to the center, So currently, they're coming out here, going through this intersection, coming up the street, and exiting out this way. Really, the intent is to get them out of this intersection here for a nice little easy transition out to this area here. You know, you're in an urban area, it's not uncommon to have driveway curb cuts close to one another. We feel that we're far enough away from the street intersection, there's good sight distance at that area, that it really improves the circulation on the site. To get some of the cars off of this street on Clay Street so that they come up on the street on Wet Rock Road to spread out the traffic. But again, it's not uncommon to have multiple driveways in an urban setting, plenty of sight distance for those cars. And part of the feeling too is that, you know, our peak traffic for these residents doesn't interfere with the business type operation that's already there. Our traffic is more spread out throughout the day, just due to the nature of the residents.
Department head recommendation.
We do. Just a quick overview of what we've done. We have been working with them since they submitted their application. We had a meeting this morning with them to finalize some of these issues around the stormwater. That was basically where most of our comments came from. The comments that we got had to do with the stormwater and drainage. So we feel that they've been able to address those comments, and what we would ask is that prior to us submitting the written decision to the city clerk, we'll request a finalized plan showing the agreed upon stormwater system. That they are working with our peer reviewer and with the city's DPW. There were a couple of little issues on this that there is work being done on Clay Street, but the city is doing some of that work on the sidewalks and some of the pothole and trench work in the area. Other than that, we have just we've determined that. I'm just looking at one other. There was some easement issues, I think, that we discussed, but the applicant has worked those out with the property on Hancock Street that has some. Yeah, is it the KFC Taco Bell? Some of their trash dumpster area is on the applicant's property, but they have worked out an easement with them. So after we've considered the plans and the documents and comments received by city staff, we recommend approval of site plan review under Quincy zoning ordinance 17, section 9.5.1, with the following special conditions. The applicant shall provide a construction management plan to include construction truck routes at least 1 month prior to the start of construction to the city's traffic engineer for review and approval. The stormwater operation and maintenance plan shall be recorded at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. The applicant shall apply for a stormwater connection permit from the Department of Public Works before construction. And again, the applicant understands they need to do that as soon as possible. 1 week prior to construction activities, the applicant shall conduct an on-site inspection to the city of Quincy and/or the city's designated representative to observe the erosion controls installed at the site and review the erosion controls anticipated to be employed during construction. At any point during construction, the applicant shall allow the city of Quincy and/or the city's designated representative to enter the site for the purpose of making observations as to the compliance of site construction with the approved site plans and conditions of approval. At a minimum, the city of Quincy's or city's designated representative shall observe the construction of the stormwater management system at the following time. I just want to explain this condition. What we're doing now with some of these more intricate stormwater systems is having our peer reviewers go out during the construction to ensure that it's installed correctly. So with this one, they'll go out at the following times. On subsurface infiltration systems, upon completion of excavation, during the verification of infiltration rates, that they conform with Mass DEP stormwater standards, and upon completion of chamber and crushed stone installation and prior to backfill. An drainage connection to existing Clay Street drainage system during installation and prior to backfill. The water quality units and outlet control structures upon completion of installation. and the applicant shall provide at least 72 hours notice for said inspections. Number 7, the City of Quincy may at its discretion use consultants to supplement city staff for, but not limited to, the purpose of site construction observation. The applicant shall bring the 53G consultant review fund back to its original amount prior to any land disturbance activities. Upon completion of construction, the applicant's engineer shall provide a report to the City of Quincy Department of Planning and Community Development certifying that the stormwater management system was installed in accordance with the approved plans. The report shall include a certification that the excavations of the proposed infiltration system were inspected prior to backfill. An as-built of the stormwater management system shall be provided with the report. Number 9, the applicant shall develop a dust control plan or submit a dust control plan to the Department of Health for review and approval prior to the site activity. Said dust control plan is to be implemented during any site activities to ensure compliance with state air quality regulations. And the applicant shall submit documentation indicating that construction activities at 68 to 86 Clay Street will not result in rodent issues for abutters. Start to notice a pattern here. We're putting this on every one of our conditions. The applicant shall develop a rodent control contingency plan prior to the commencement of construction activities on site, which will include the name and contact information for non-pest control company. Said rodent control plan shall be developed and submitted to the Department of Health for review and approval prior to obtaining their building permits. Upon completion of this project, the applicant shall submit to the planning board as-built plans showing all utilities, building footprints, reference bounds, and total site facilities and rights of way. The hours for construction activities will be as follows: 7 to 5 Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 Saturday, and all construction and delivery shall be prohibited on Sundays unless a different schedule is approved by the chief of police and the city traffic engineer. The hours for delivery of materials will be determined by city traffic engineer with the submission of the construction.
Any questions from the board? Entertain a motion to accept the recommendation and approve the site plan application. So moved. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item is 500 Commander Shea Boulevard, Boston Scientific, Planning Board Case 2016-07. In accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 11, the Quincy Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 11th at 9:22 on the application of Boston Scientific, Peter Doig, 500 Commander Shea Boulevard, for a special permit under the Quincy zoning ordinance Title 17, Section 5.3.6, signs. Applicant proposes to install a roof-mounted sign on the roof edge of south building facing the Neponset River and I-93. The building is a one-story, 521,828 plus or minus square foot structure housing manufacturing and warehousing facilities. The proposed construction will be internally illuminated building sign with the Boston Scientific logo with a structural steel support framework. The property contains 3,885,552 plus or minus square feet of land and is located at 500 Commander Shea Boulevard. The subject property is located in an industrial B zoning district and is shown in Assessors Plan 6076, Lot 44, 44B, Plot 68. Sir.
Hello, good evening. For the record, Matt Snell on behalf of Boston Scientific. With me tonight is Peter Doig, Facilities Manager for Boston Scientific, and Boyd Morrison from Gamble Design. Just as background, I think, before Boyd walks you through the signs, you'll recall that in January 2015, we were before the board for subdivision of Boston Scientific's property at 500 Commander Shea, dividing into two parcels, the north and south lots. We were before you again in August for a site plan special permit for some design changes to parking and other things. And as part of that now, the north parcel has been transferred, and Boston Scientific is in the process of consolidating their operations within the south building. As part of that, they're seeking to erect a new sign on the roof of the south building, which will replace the existing ZBA approved sign that's on the wall of the now former. So kind of background for it, but I'll let Boyd run you through the sign.
Good evening, my name is Boyd Morrison. What we have here, I want to just point out a few things. The architectural elevations we're showing you here are the proposed new architectural cladding that will, in the future, will be added. It's not there now for those of you who've seen the building. It's much more of a basic building, though the cladding has been added at the south end of the south building, so to give you a sense of what that material is. The window strip here as well is proposed. That's not there yet. Right now there are a series of vertical, almost battlement-style windows that allow light to get in and out, but the intent here is that this will be a much more continuous sort of glazing approach. This is an elevation at 3/16" scale just to show this small section of the building. This is a side elevation section through the building just to show how the structural steel support system will work. This is a plan view of the same piece. This is the parking area. See that? This is the parking area, and the Neponset River is down here off the edge of the plan. And then just for a context illustration, this is the proposed sign. It will be LED illuminated. It's going to be the Boston Scientific blue in the daytime, and using a perforated vinyl technique, it will be a white letter at night. So to illustrate that, here is, this is the building again with the cladding added to it. Everything that's this sort of dark color black is glass. And here's the existing sign that was approved by CDA several years ago, well, quite a few years ago. And then since this will go away, this will be painted over. This right now has uplights on it that would go away. The intent is to create a stronger branding element that would be centered between the two bump outs here. This is visible. It's designed to really be visible in 93. It's making a statement to 3,000 plus feet across the Neponset River. This is this is the west elevation. And then this just shows, again, this strip here is what the lights might look like at, say, 7 or 8 o'clock at night in the evening. There's also an LED accent strip, this blue here, which again is in design, but really what we're here to request a special permit for is the actual sign itself on the roof edge. Now, one of the things that we also wanted to illustrate is what you would see from the east. So looking east, this photograph is taken from the top of the Atrium Marina Bay long-term care facility. That's a 4-story building, so this is on the roof parapet looking straight out across. This is the sign will be completely light-proof in the back. There'll be these heavy-duty channel letters filled with LEDs, and they will shine outward only. So there's no reflection, there's no light coming back toward any abutter. And this, just for context, this is about 370 feet. And then this entire elevation is from this connector building, which is still part of the Boston Scientific building, all the way. This is almost 900 linear feet of building at about 43.6 all the way across. So just wanted to put it in context. If you are familiar with the Gillette Rule Shaving headquarters, the Gillette letters are 16 feet high and 400 feet long. So these are the Boston B is 15'7", and the Boston Scientific S, which is the largest letter, is about 17, 18 feet.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I'll show it, actually, it's right here on your plan. The Boston site, the B, we should have had two easels. B is 15.2 and the S is 18'7". And obviously, all of these are, you know, they change a little bit, but they're roughly all about 10 feet, the lowercase letters. The other thing we wanted to show is a night view. So if you happen to be on the roof of the Atrium Marina Bay and you were looking across at night, there's a car with its lights, headlights on. There's no light. You would just see the twinkling of the lights over across the Ponset River over in Dorchester. So essentially, the only time a resident of Quincy would see this sign is if they were coming on the red line, perhaps, across the railway bridge, or if you were out on 93.
Would you mind giving those dimensions for the Gillette World Headquarters sign?
Yes,
Again,
the G in Gillette is 16 feet high,
Okay.
and then if you're familiar with it, it's the Gillette logo, and then it says World Shaving Headquarters running linearly. So those letters probably drop down to about, I'm going to say 8 to 10 feet. But it's 400 linear feet.
And how high is the structure that these letters are fixed to?
That is shown on this, you know, it's right here. Let me just put these down. So this vertical, this is an 8x8 steel support beam. It's just a square beam, so it's 24 feet, the tallest ones. I'm sorry, 22.8, running up off this cross beam. So these are the tallest ones are 22.8, and the way the structural engineers designed it, that accommodates the attachment of all these letters. So it's all LED, and we've actually brought a sample LED letter if you'd like to see that illuminated. It's not exactly the way it will be made, but it's an accurate representation of what the style of illumination will be. And it's just, we're not going to go A in Boston Scientific, but. So this is essentially this is how an LED letter works. It's extremely low energy, low voltage.
I'm going to try to hit the light for you a little bit.
Hey. So, and the back of these letters will be completely sealed. So it uses very little energy. It will be made of a combination of aluminum, which is 100% recyclable, and it will. Oh wow! I was wondering what the blue effect was. So, but this is how it works. What's nice is it's just an even glow. So the intent is not to have it. It's not throwing a lot of lumens out. Thank you very much. It's not throwing a bunch of lumens out across the river. It's just face lighting, and as I said, it will be non-illuminated during the day and will read Boston Scientific blue.
And from top to bottom, what's the measurement?
It's 30 feet from the base
Yeah.
of the S to the top serif of the B. It's 88 feet 6 inches wide on a 368 elevation, linear facade between those two bump outs that you can see here. So from here to here, it's just under 400 feet. So actually the whole Gillette World Shaving Headquarters would be wider than the bump outs.
From when to when will it be illuminated? Is it all night long or certain hours during the night?
The intent is for it to be from dusk to dawn.
Dusk to dawn.
Any other questions?
I just have a comment.
Go ahead, feel free.
So my background is sort of biotech, economic development, regional growth, and I like the idea of advertising that we have technology here in Quincy. I only wish that it was clear that it was in Quincy, because I think that's part of Quincy. People get confused. Is that Boston? Is that Quincy? Well, it must be Boston because it says Boston Scientific, but that's not the case. So I think just, you go to Kendall Square and you see a lot of signage that kind of reflects the technology that's happening in there. So I think it's just, it's helpful, I think, to have representation of technology here in this city.
It will say Quincy on the main campus ID sign, which is in your package, which is the one that Quincy residents would see, that would let people know that the Quincy Distribution Center is, that's where it's located. So. Plus you're part of the high-tech sort of biotech corridor, so there's a lot of linkage there, I think. Somerville, Boston, Cambridge. So it's a nice, I think it would be a nice apostrophe to the whole district. And it's also important to point out that this is something that is really designed to be viewed while moving.
I think.
Just a quick question. I see the ground sign represents Quincy Distribution Center. Is that the only place that's going to represent that it's Quincy?
There'll be some directional signs out on Commander Shea.
Yeah, but I mean of something of size rather than a ground sign.
Site directionals would also indicate it to help people get there. Sort of improvement over some of the off-site directions that are there now.
I was just going to echo Member Camiso's comment that, I think this board has been very protective of the aesthetic appeal of Quincy at our different gateway points, whether internally in the city, entering from the different access points, or driving either up from the Cape or from Boston. I think that for too long, this site, which is so visible from 93, has been very understated. Nobody really knew what was going on over there, but for the fact that Boston Scientific was there. But this seems to imply that something more exciting than what some people may have assumed was just a warehouse is happening there. So just to echo Member Camiso's comment, which I think is really important for Quincy in general, to have this sort of optical appeal as people are coming out of Boston for the first time and coming down into the suburbs. So I think it's a very well done project.
Thank you. I think it's very much, for Boston Scientific, it's very much a pride of place statement. So I think that including what is being proposed for the architectural facade improvements and potential accent lighting, which I think will also add some energy and some visual interests. We're not here for those particular items, but we really do see it as a very much a connected integral design statement.
Any other comments on board? This is a public hearing, so anybody who would like to speak regarding the application of 2016-07, Mr. Director.
Thank you. There were discussions with the mayor's office on this, and I had spoken earlier today to Mr. Doig, and one of the concerns was there was some conversation had as to a possibility of, obviously we totally respect Boston Scientific, worked with them for many years, and some branding conversations. I checked in today just to see if there was any conversation had about whether Quincy would be part of the presentation on the site. So Mr. Doig and I discussed where that had gone. obviously recognizing that the branding aspects may have been an issue. So we would like to have an opportunity to continue that dialogue regarding that. The mayor and I spent some time prior to his leaving the country on this, and he asked me to check in on that and had asked me to make sure that that dialogue could continue. So I would just respectfully suggest that I'd like to hold on to this. We're not going to throw this up tonight, and have an opportunity to discuss that situation as to whether Quincy would be more represented in name on the site. And so I would just respectfully point that out to the board and suggest that we'd like an opportunity to have a further conversation with Boston Scientific regarding the site. Again, we very, very happy with Boston Scientific, and I'm sure that we're going to get to a place where we're comfortable. This would be, in fact, the largest sign in the city of Quincy, by far. And the opportunity to discuss that at a later date is important to the mayor. And I would just say that to the board and make sure that if we're going to go, as we know this is a special permit by the planning board, it's an unprecedented size. Just like to run that by the mayor and members of the city council as well. So,
Is there the possibility of changing it to Quincy Scientific?
Quincy Scientific, I believe they've taken off the table.
We'll approve it now.
Worth a shot.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a motion to continue this to our June 8th meeting.
I'll just, can I add
Oh, I'm
one
sorry.
comment
Go ahead.
to
Yeah.
add to the comments that the director made, and to just build off of what Member Berry had said, that this is indeed an entry point, gateway, very visible space. So I actually appreciate having that conversation, because we should really be thoughtful in terms of how we utilize that real estate. So I'm supportive of that.
Good. Anybody else comment? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to continue this to June 8th board meeting. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next item is a public hearing. The planning board will hold a public hearing on May 11th at 9:40 in the first floor boards and commissions room, Quincy City Hall, 1505 Hancock Street. The purpose of the hearing is to give interested parties the opportunity to comment on Council Order 2016-075, proposed changes to the City of Quincy zoning ordinance, Title 17, Section 7.1, Affordable Housing Ordinance, Section 7.1.1, Applicability, Paragraph 1. The proposed amendment would remove the phrase, provisions of Section 7.1 shall not apply to urban renewal uses. Anybody would like to speak on the proposed zoning change? Anyone like to speak on the proposed zoning change? I have a letter from Reverend Sheldon Bennett. I'm writing as a community leader and an advocate for the development and availability of housing that is affordable for moderate and lower income households, as a member of the Quincy Affordable Housing Trust Committee, and as a member of the Board of Directors of Quincy Community Action Programs, which has set affordable housing as its major strategic planning goal. I write to urge support of the proposed change to delete Section 7.1.1, Paragraph 1, which exempts urban development uses from the provisions of affordable housing section of the zoning ordinance. The 2007 URDP for the Quincy Center makes affordable housing a project objective towards the goal of mixed-use development, Section 12.02.3, Section 1, Urban Renewal District Goals and Objectives set as an objective. New housing development will support affordable housing in the downtown by utilizing the city's inclusionary zoning ordinance, HUD, CDBG Home, and McKinney Homeless Assistance in any new state or new federal affordable housing initiatives or programs. This objective has remained unchanged in subsequent amendments to the UIDP. However, the inclusionary zoning ordinance, section 7.1.1, applicability, was subsequently amended by the addition of paragraph 1, which exempts urban renewal projects that seek permitting by a certificate of consistency. It is my understanding that this amendment was made at the time of the comprehensive rewrite of the overall city zoning ordinance in 2011, in part to accommodate the land disposition agreement with Streetworks Inc., which did include a commitment to make a cash payment of $10,000 to the Affordable Housing Trust for each unit constructed. The current plan for the downtown redevelopment district includes 1,250 units of new housing. The two housing developments in the downtown district approved to date, west of Chestnut, 1545 Hancock Street, which together represent 225 new housing units, make no contribution to affordable housing. If the current trend continues, Quincy will lose a most important opportunity to produce affordable housing, the need for which is becoming increasingly urgent. This would not only be unfortunate, but would be contrary to both the spirit and the letter of the UIDP, which was supported by the community and approved by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development. Moreover, and contrary to the original plan, the current plan for the downtown redevelopment will now require city taxpayer support of bond financing for infrastructure improvements in the district. To ask city taxpayers to support top-of-the-market housing that is beyond the affordability of large numbers of people, but with no contribution to affordable housing, is unfair and is contrary to the UIDP objectives. Quincy taxpayers should not be required to support the development of an enclave exclusively for the affluent. I urge the planning board to approve Council Order 2016-075 proposing changes to the Affordable Housing Ordinance section 7.1.1 applicability paragraph 1. Sincerely, Reverend Sheldon W. Bennett. Anybody else would like to speak? Motion to close the public hearing. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Director, you want to make a...
Yes, for the record, I spoke to the two proponents on the city council of that, or the co-authors of that. They are aware that the meeting was to be held this evening. Councilor Calmucci, his comment was, and told me that the spirit of this is to engage a dialogue or a debate on this process. He understands that there are differences of opinion on this, and that is one of the reasons he feels he'd like to, put this forth. And he just wanted me to make that comment. I just wanted to make sure that both Councilor Calmucci and that Councilor Finn, who also co-sponsored, were aware for sure that there was a meeting tonight, and if they wish, they were able to make comments to the board. I also told both councilors that we had received one letter in support of the proposed amendment, and that was from Reverend Sheldon Bennett. So that's where we left it. As you know, there has been a constant conversation on this. Again, the planning department has discussed this. We feel strongly right now that we agree with the spirit at some point of this proposal. And but at this time, we still feel strongly that the intention of that URDP was to point out that we needed to give developers an incentive to develop in the downtown. The costs of land in the downtown are significant. The cost of infrastructure in the downtown is significant. And it is still the feeling of the planning department and also the administration, the mayor's office, that we currently need to continue to incent the downtown development, and this is an additional burden for development in the downtown. Having said that, there is no intention, if we feel that the downtown takes off, we are ready to make a change in that, that determination, because again, there has been no development yet on any city parcels, but the city parcels will of course be subject to an LDA, land disposition agreement, which gives the council a great deal of opportunity to impose or to discuss on the city's land what the council would like to see, as well as, you know, affordable housing, but many other factors. And we just want to make that clear that there is not a sense that, you know, if we set this in stone, we can't go back and make a change at a later date if we feel the development in Quincy Center is such that we don't feel there is still the same level of hardship to develop and the same financial burdens to develop in the downtown. That would be all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. What's the feeling of the board on the director's recommendation?
I'm happy to make a motion. Great. I'll make a motion that we issue a negative recommendation to the city council and the mayor on the proposed council order 2016-075 that will remove the phrase, "The provisions of section 7.1 shall not apply to the urban renewal uses," from the City of Quincy zoning ordinance Title 17, section 7.1, affordable housing ordinance, section 7.1.1, applicability paragraph, and to make no changes to this section.
The motion's been made. Second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any other business?
That was it.
A motion to adjourn? See you on the 8th of June. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We all signed?
Yeah, I think.